Okay, today we're going to be talking about how to graph a line using the slope-intercept form. So we've talked about proportional relationships, and today we're going to be talking about proportionality involving linear functions as well. So proportional linear functions can be written in the form y equals mx, where m is the slope of the line. So you may recall looking at proportional relationships and looking and determining whether an equation was proportional or not, and this is the form that we've talked about in the past. Now, non-proportional linear functions can be written in the form y equals mx plus b. This is called the slope-intercept form. When an equation is written in this form, m is the slope and b is the y-intercept, which is the point where a line crosses the y-axis. So again, m is our slope, b is our y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis. Y is a point on our line, and x and y are the points on the line. Okay, so let's find slope and y-intercept looking at linear equations. So we want to state the slope and the y-intercept of the graph of this equation. So we want to make sure that the equation is written in y equals mx plus b format. So here we have y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Now I'm going to change this where instead of it being minus 4, I'm going to change it to its additive inverse and have y equals 2/3 x plus a negative 4. And that's going to help us determine our y-intercept. Now we're going to locate the slope and y-intercept using the y equals mx plus b format. So we know that y equals mx plus b is our format where m is the slope. So this is going to be our slope, 2/3, 2/3. And the y-intercept is b, and so the y-intercept is going to be negative 4. So when I look at this equation, y equals 2/3 x minus 4. 2/3 is our slope, and negative 4 is our y-intercept. Okay, let's look at another one. Now, this equation is not in the y equals mx plus b form, so we need to make sure that we rewrite it. So we have x plus y equals 6, and now we need to put it in slope-intercept form. So I need to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract x from both sides. And I'm left with y equals negative x, and this was a positive 6, so plus 6. So this is my new equation in slope-intercept form. Now, the slope, we have a negative x, so remember that there's really a 1 there. So our slope is going to be negative 1. And the y-intercept is going to be 6. Okay, we're going to do one more before you try one on your own. So we want to find the slope and the y-intercept. We have y equals negative 1/4 x minus 6. This is our slope, negative 1/4. So m, that slope, equals negative 1/4. And b, our y-intercept, is a negative 6. Don't forget that this is really plus a negative. Now I would like for you to try number 2 on your own. Make sure that you rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form before you determine what your slope and y-intercept is. Now let's actually use the slope-intercept form to graph a linear equation. So here we have -3 halves x minus 1. And we want to graph this equation. Now before, we've substituted in x and gotten an output y and graphed points on the line. There's actually an easier way to graph a line using the slope-intercept form. So we want to find the slope. Our slope is -3/2. Now some students are confused. Should I put the negative here? Should I put the negative here? Where does the negative go? So in this case, we could say a -3/2 or 3/2. It's the same thing, and you need to know that when we're graphing. That's going to be important. Also, we need to find our y-intercept, which is a -1. So that y-intercept is -1. Now what we're going to do is graph the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So find your y-axis, and since our slope-intercept is a -1, I'm going to find -1 on our y-axis. That's my first point. Now we're going to use the slope to locate the second point on the line. This is where the negatives become important. So let's start with this, a -3/2. Remember, slope is rise over run, and rise represents the y and run represents the x, or the horizontal and the vertical. So let's use this first, a -3 rise. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 down, because negative represents down. So we're going 1, 2, 3. Then we have a +2. +2 horizontally is 1, 2 to the right. That's 1 point. And you could continue this pattern, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Also, we need to put points going this way. So we would use this. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the left, that's a -2, 1, 2. +3, -2. And then we draw our line. Okay, let's look at another one. Here we have y equals x plus 3. Now, remember, there's a 1 in front of this x. We don't write the 1, but there is a 1. So our slope is, we want it in a fraction form because we need the rise over run. So we're going to have a slope of 1/1. And we could also say a -1 over -1, because -1 over -1 is a +1. And this is important when we're graphing our line. And then our y-intercept is 3. So B is 3. So let's first graph our y-intercept. It's a +3, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. On the y-axis, it's a positive. And now I'm going to start graphing the slope and the points. So let's use +1/1. So I'm going to go up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. That's the positive. Then I can go down 1, left 1. So down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1, down 1, left 1. And then make sure you draw your line through. I would like for you to do number 2 on your own, but just to review what we've talked about, make sure you remember that you can go left and right, up or down to form your line all the way through the coordinate plane.